individuals break cycles. We are delighted that you have taken the opportunity to join us. So prepare yourselves for this week's teaching and equipping session. Get ready to be educated, equipped, and set free as you listen to this week's broadcast. And thank you for joining us.
Hello, Dream family. Good evening. Hey, how you doing? I'm Kenny, and this is
his wife, Kai.
And we are here with DREEMM Ministries, Deliverance, Restoration, Education, and Empowerment for Me Ministries, here with another Truth Tuesdays.
Absolutely.
Our Truth Tuesdays are basically set up to where we our continued mission to help families and individuals break cycles and chains, and to give you words of encouragement to get you through the rest of the week. So we're here.
All right. So Kenny and I are going to be talking about an encounter that we had. And really, it was just proof that God is real. Because sometimes you need proof, documented proof. I was talking to Apostle last week about a knock at the door that I received. Did not know who was at the door last week. And when I went out, I realized that it was Mormons. Some Mormons, they had came to the door to talk about their faith, their belief, and everything else. And as he opened up the conversation, he asked me flat out, "Do you know God is real?" And I'm like, absolutely, I sure do. Mm-hmm. And then he began to ask me, well, what has Jesus done for you? So I'm like, you came to the right house. Let's go. So I began to talk him through what I knew, the times where Jesus had showed up in my life, when God had showed up in my life, when the Holy Spirit had spoke to me. I began to tell him about my gifting. And I said, you came to the right house because I want you to know when you walk away from this door, that God is absolutely real, without a shadow of a doubt that he's real. And miracles, signs, and wonders are still happening in this day. Not, years ago, we're not going off of what happened centuries ago. We're going after right now in this time, because he's still showing up for everyday moments. He's still showing up in big ways. He's still showing up doing the big things in our lives. So Kenny and I, we're actually talking about how God showed up in our lives. And I want to just tell you about that proof that God is real. So in 2016, I relocated to Cincinnati to begin to work on our marriage, and we began to piece things back together. And during that time, I went through deliverance, like hardcore, in-depth deliverance. I went through deliverance without even understanding what deliverance was, but whatever it was, I needed to be free. So sign me up, do whatever you got to do, because I'm tired of living like this. I don't care what it entails. So I did go through deliverance, and Apostle began to share with me my gifting and what my gifting was. And at that point, I began to hear audibly. I told you guys before, I've always had dreams. I've never heard audibly, when God is unctioning and telling me something, or telling me to do something, or telling me to speak to somebody. So I remember being in a grocery store the first time where I heard God say, go say this to that person. And I remember I was shaking in my boots. Like, what if they don't believe in God? What if I go up to this person and they're like, who are you? Right. And so instead of being fearful, I did begin to walk and begin to listen to God. And I went to that person and I did tell them what God told me to tell that person. And the person began to cry in the middle of a grocery store because she was like, I was praying to God that he would give me an answer on this situation. Now, I didn't understand the message because I just knew God was telling me to go tell him. And so that's how God began to start really revealing himself to me. During this time in about 2017, I had left the position I was working in at that point to start my own staffing firm. And I remember one night I woke up and Kenny was asleep in bed right next to me. And I put my hand on his back and I put my other hand on his head. And I began to say, God, I need you to wake him up spiritually. I need you to let him know that you are real. He needs his own encounter with you, not the encounter that I'm telling him about, but he needs his own encounter where he can hear from you and he knows this is you showing up in his life. So I need you to do this right then. So that was the prayer that I had. I want Kenny to tell you a little bit about just what was going on in 2017 and what he was experiencing, and then we can go from there.
Well, what I was experiencing at the time was I prayed, but I wasn't really like involved in like the whole process in church in general. Like I would participate in some instances, but I wasn't like how my wife was. And I was going through a process where, and I will say this, I was also getting influenced by a lot of my friends and their conversation. Their what they was talking about as far as this being a white man's religion, oh, you following the white man, Jesus wasn't real, or the other thing that came up, oh, he's black, you ain't supposed to be there, you supposed to be a Muslim or
Hebrew
or a
Israelite.
Hebrew Israelite, thank you. And all those things would start coming in my head. Now what I was doing was, it says that I'm supposed to seek out the truth. So I really was questioning, like, am I following the right, am I going the right path? Because I don't know. And there's a lot of people out there that will mislead you, that will false prophesize. And I don't want to be guilty and say, well, I didn't know. And you had ample amount of time to find out, to figure it out. So that was going through my head. And I would come constantly to my wife and I tell her, like, for instance, it's we supposed to celebrate the Sabbath. And that's the 7th day. So I was going off of 7 days in a calendar, which it would be Saturday, not Sunday. So, I was questioning stuff like that, and it didn't help. It didn't help when I had other voices in my head going back and forth. So I really started to like doubt, even though I believed, even though I prayed, I know there's a God. It was nothing to push me over the edge full heartedly. Like, this is the way I was supposed to go. So I constantly kept praying. My wife kept praying over me. And I know this is a long time. I think I always had an encounter, but let's just say, for sake of argument, I probably ignored it. I probably pushed it to the side, like, whatever. It's so many things that God has like brought me through, and he was always there. He was just waiting for me to just start running back to him. So it was last year. It was last year, and my wife was coming down to Tennessee for a new position that she had. And she would make trips back and forth from time to time. And one of these trips, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with you. We was scoping out for a new home, me trying to find job placement, because we in Tennessee now, and everything like that. So one particular instance where I took her to work, he's like, just go and see, like, what Tennessee has to offer and stuff like that while she was at work. So that's what I did. I came back to the hotel, which, by the way, was a nice hotel. I laid down. I was feeling overwhelmed because, for the simple fact, as a man, I did not want to not have a job. And I was thinking about what I can do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, anything down here. And I was getting a little discouraged. So I just laid in the bed, and I just laid there. And it was just like this feeling that just came over me. I prayed, and then it felt like someone came in the room and just hugged me and just said, it's going to be okay. Now, in my mind, visually, what came in my mind when we was driving to Tennessee, it was this billboard that we passed maybe a day or two ago. And all it says, it didn't have no scripture, no nothing. Like, all it said is trust in Jesus.
Yeah.
Trust in me.
Yeah.
That popped in my head multiple times. And it actually popped in my head a couple times before my encounter.
Wow.
And all I can remember think about is that, and I started to cry. And it just, like I said, it just felt like I got you. I didn't know at the time what was about to happen, but God was telling me he got us. And Lord behold, well, for like a couple weeks later, she had lost her job. We just moved down here. I had not found placement yet, and she lost her job. My wife was in, safe to say, panic mode. Me, I was like, we're gonna be all right. Let me go ahead and make some calls. And in a week's time, not even 4 days later, she had another job and I had a job.
Yeah.
So that came back into my mind. God was telling me way in a month in advance, just trust me. You're gonna be fine. And there's a lot of other instances in our lives where we kind of like was panicking, but in that same instance, he told us everything's gonna be fine. And this was the first time like I actually was like calm with it, and I really was like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. And it turned out better than what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that was my encounter. I still remember it like the day it happened. Is just another testament, another proof that God is real. And I want everybody to have that encounter. I feel like when you have that encounter, it'll make everything clear for you. And it would just open your eyes. My wife would just to pray to me every time that my spiritual eyes were open, that I block out everything that's coming against me, things that's coming in my ear gates, my eye gates, that I would make changes. But I need to have an encounter to make those changes. And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a lot of changes for the better. And I haven't like turned back. Now I'm making even more changes. But it all starts with God first, like revealing himself to me. And I used to pray that too. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, God, reveal it to me. But I don't know how to reveal it to where it doesn't scare me. Like,
like God just jump out from behind the closet. Like, I'm here.
Right. So I would also say appear in my dreams. And again, he did it again when I had recently spoke for the first time. And it came to me again, but this time it woke me up. And you know what I'm saying? So God is real. He's really there. He's really there to answer your prayers. He's really there to guide you accordingly. When people are in your circle, they constantly speaking life into them. And I also was dealing with, he was speaking to other people, but he wasn't speaking to me. Yeah. I felt as though he wasn't speaking to me. And I was like, why is he giving you the message and not giving it to me? And then I had to come to realize, like, he was using everybody as an instrument to get it across to me, to get me to see, like, I am real. I'm trying to reach you. I'm trying to reach you any possible way I can. Maybe if I speak to this person, you can relate, and this person can make you see what I'm trying to do in your life. So thank God for that, and because it really truly like helped me. And I'm still growing. I'm still understanding. I'm still bettering myself each and every day. So,
and one of the things I want to say is I prayed the prayer in 2017. In 2021 is when God actually showed up for him, like that he could physically say, because this incident happened in this November. of 2021, because we came down for a visit then to get everything finalized, because we were moving in April. And so we were just trying to get all the pieces in place and everything built out the way it was supposed to go. And so that's a good distance. And it's easy for you to lose faith when I've been waiting this long, because it would be one thing if I said, prayed that prayer in 2017, and then the next day God revealed himself to my husband and he had that encounter. This was a continual prayer. Even in fasting, God, I started to fast. God, I need you to give him an encounter, because some of the questions that you were asking me at that time kind of were red flags to me, like, he's going through a spiritual battle. And I think oftentimes what spouses tend to do is they tend to nag the other partner, like, you need to be in your Bible more. You need to be praying more. You need to be fasting. You're supposed to be leading the family. And what my thing that God started to reveal in me was, one, I'm still working on you. I'm not finished with you yet. So how are you going to go tell him what I should be doing in him when I'm not finished dealing with you? Let me focus on you. And the same way God revealed himself to me, he was telling me I can do that same thing with him. I didn't need any assistance working through and getting through to you. I don't need you to keep pushing him. I need you to move out of the way, because you become the distraction when God is trying to speak to him. And so he doesn't trust the voice of God that is speaking to him, because he's looking at me going, well, what is God saying? And God was saying, I don't want that relationship with you where you're the interpreter to your husband. I need you to move to the side so I can get a message clearly through to him. And so I just begin to pray. God, I believe you can do this. I believe you can speak to him. I believe you're the only one that can change his mind. I believe you're the one that can get through to him. I believe he needs relationship with you. And I begin to pray, God, give him that Damascus Road experience, because I knew that's what Kenny needed. He needed to know definitively, without a doubt, that I had my own experience. God came to me, and now I know he's real, because otherwise he was dealing with what everybody else was saying. So he's listening to the friends who are going, you should be Hebrew Israelite. We were never supposed to be Christian. That was never for us. That was the white man's religion. They pushed that on us to believe that Jesus was real. Jesus was a prophet. He was not the Son of God. That is false and lies that you were raised to believe. And so he started to question, not question it in a way of, I think that we need to change religions, but he was questioning in a way of, how do you know that this is right? I mean, how do you know it? Not what's in the Bible, but you specifically, wife, Kai. How do you know this is real? And so it took me living that life for him to see that God was real to me and that I was in relationship, but also it took me loving him. You know, God loved us even when we were in sin, and he did not look at us in disgust, but said, I can clean you up. And it was me giving that same love to my husband, because sometimes what we do is we condemn them. One of the jokes that we have going on right now in the Cunningham household, my husband is eating very healthy, and he is getting me to eat very healthy with him. And I love it. But anytime I pick up something unhealthy, he gives me that look like, you gonna eat that?
It's not the look.
It is the look, and he has a word for me. He's like, so you don't want to put that down? I'm just asking. That's what you want to eat? You don't want to eat fruit? You don't want to grab an apple instead of that, right?
I do.
So,
I say it in love.
See?
I just want to continue our journey. And it goes beyond just feeding her spiritually, but you got to feed her also physically.
Yeah.
And we're one. Mm-hmm. So therefore, if I'm doing all the things and necessary steps to take care of myself and to live better, all the way around, God, your body, this is your temple. You're supposed to take care of it. You're not supposed to mistreat it. Yeah. And I just want us to be on one accord with each other. With that. So the same things I want for myself, I want for my wife, naturally. I mean, it's my wife.
Yeah. And I think it's good. I think it's good. No problem with that whatsoever. Right. But I think that was just one of those things that, we are seeing eye to eye on and working through that and making sure we're making the right choices, not only for us, because we do have little Cunninghams who are, well, not little anymore.
No, we got grown Cunninghams.
Grown Cunninghams. They're not babies anymore. But they are looking at us to make the right decisions, and they're going to mimic based on what they see. That's how you break those generational curses. And it starts with the decisions that we make today. It starts with how we live our lives, and your children will start to mimic that. And if you're living your life in dysfunction,
don't be complaining about they acting out or acting bad and doing this and doing that. It's because you're not in order. You're not in line.
So we gotta get in order.
They just following it, what they see, their example.
Yeah. One of the things, so again, I prayed this in 2017, and we saw the manifestation take place in 2021,
Right.
which is when my husband had the encounter. He talked about moving down here. I've told that story. We moved down here in April, and by the first, maybe second week of May, my position was eliminated. Actually, it was the first week of May. It was the first week of May.
No.
We had literally just got here, and the company that brought me here did a massive layoff. Like everybody had to go.
Everybody.
So it's funny now. It was not funny in the moment.
No,
it was
it
not. But one thing that I did was, after I got the call, I told you, I immediately began praying. I wouldn't allow my mouth to speak what I was feeling in that moment. Because for me, it was, I don't want to curse what God is doing. I believe you, God. I trust you got a plan for me. I don't know why you brought us all the way to Tennessee. I have no idea, but I believe it was on plan. And you knew this. This caught me by surprise. It caught my husband by surprise, but it obviously didn't catch you by surprise. And so, God, we're going to believe in you, and I'm just going to shut my mouth up. I just began praying. I turned on some praise music, and I just let the tears flow. While praying with the praise music in, I immediately stopped having conversations with people who are also a part of it, because they were, you're in your feelings and your emotions, and I didn't want to allow myself
dictate your behavior.
Come on now, or my hurt feelings.
Yeah.
So I immediately was like, don't even engage. You just need to shut it down. And that's what happened. And he's right. Within 4 days, I had 2 job offers. Yeah. And Kenny also had a job offer within a few days. I mean, this is not weeks later. And right now we're hearing of people who've been laid off for months.
And let me add to that. God has been working with me about provision, to be able to have things set up in case. Yeah. It wasn't like that early on in our marriage.
We couldn't.
It took to 2015 where it snapped. Yeah. So we've been very financially responsible. Mm-hmm. So even though this happened, God already had provision for us set aside, mm-hmm. in case something happens. Right. Just thank God that that storm didn't last long.
It did not.
It was a light drizzle. It really was. It was a light drizzle. Because like I said before, what came in my head at that time was trusting Jesus. This is after my encounter. Yeah. And that kept coming into my head, trusting Jesus. So I was, like I said, I wasn't panicked. I just knew doors was going to open. Mm-hmm. And it was going to open soon. Mm-hmm. I didn't know when, but I knew that we was going to be okay. There was no need for me to curse God. You brought us down here. You left us, none of that stuff, because that ain't even the case. Yeah. Things will happen. You will get tested. Mm-hmm. And it's how you handle that situation shows how little or how much faith you have.
That's good.
And we had a lot of faith, so we didn't worry. We didn't stress about it. Again, I already told us in the beginning, way before we moved down here, I got you. That comforting spirit. Don't worry, I got you. It's gonna be temporary. And it was. So
It reminds me of the verse where Jesus said, I'm going to leave, the Father is going to leave the comforter for you. And that's exactly what you felt in that moment, was just felt comforted in a time where you may not have realized or recognized that you needed to be comforted. You may have even assumed that, it's all right, we're making this new move, but this was a huge transition for our family, because one, we had one child who was transitioning into the military. We had another child who was in high school. The middle child is still, was going to need to find his way here. We have no family in Chattanooga, like none. We have family close by in both directions. We could get to them, but nobody had ever lived in Chattanooga. So they didn't
even know about this place. What is that?
Where is Chattanooga?
How do you spell that?
So it was interesting to see where God would lead our family and where he would take us. And I really believe he orchestrated every piece of this, exactly where you needed to be at the time you needed to be, and to be able to do what I needed you to do in this time. And so it was all a part of God's plan. And that's the beauty of it, is looking at it hindsight and going, wow, God, you had a whole plan designed for us that we didn't even recognize we were walking into.
The plans that he had for us.
Yeah. I know those plans. And so it's good that we can now look at it and feel like, yes. One of the other encounters that I wanted to talk about was before, in 2017, 2018, January, God told me to go on a fast. Like, I need you to, no food, just water and 1 cup of juice a day. Only 1 cup of juice first thing in the morning, but the rest of the day was water. And he said, I want you to go on this fast for 2 weeks. I think it was longer than 2 weeks. And I remember thinking at the point, like, God, I've never fasted that long. Like, never done it. But if you say do it, I'm doing it, cold turkey. And I think for me, the first part that really was interesting for me was because fasting, I didn't think that I would wake up day 3, day 4, day 5, not hungry, like just not hungry. God sustained me through that fast. Like, I'm going to keep you encouraged. I want you only reading word. I don't want you to watch any TV. I don't want you to take anything in. I want you only looking at this. And so I stopped everything God told me to stop and only focused in on what he told me to focus in on. During that time, I remember some of our members and other people that I had been affiliated with and associated with were talking about being baptized. And I remember I got baptized as a little girl in a Baptist church with all of my cousins. I wasn't sure what was happening. I told my husband jokingly, I thought they were drowning me in the pool. Like, that's what
that's what you go to.
That's what I was like 5. I didn't know what was happening. Like, why are y'all holding me down underwater? What is this? And so I didn't stop.
I'm thinking about it. I'm visual, so I'm thinking about it.
I didn't know what was happening. And I knew it was a big deal because everybody was making a big deal of, oh my God, you're getting baptized today. I just didn't know what it meant. And so I did get held down in the water, and I got up crying because I was just like, oh my God, this was traumatic for me. And nobody explained it. I think my mom was like, she got the Holy Ghost. And I'm like, that ain't it. She just felt the Lord come on her. That wasn't it. No, I was mad because y'all helped me under. I think I need to have a conversation with my grandma now.
Oh, word. She was in on it.
She was in on the plots. But we all got baptized. But one of the things that came back to me in 2017 was that I did not know what was happening when I was a child. And I understood the gravity of it in 2017. I understood what it really meant and the importance of being baptized, and that it now meant that I was one with Christ. And so just understanding that, I began to go, God, I want a real baptism. I don't want that childhood thing. I want to create something new with you because I am now understanding how important this is. And I feel like I just didn't get the gravity of it at 5.
Right.
And so I began to pray for that, like, God, but I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. And I don't know what's going to happen here. And then at that same time, a younger cousin of mine also went through a baptism. And so being a part of that experience with her and being there for it, I was just like, oh my, I really want this.
Mhm.
I wanted it. And so at that moment, I'm fasting and I'm praying. Yeah, I'm telling you about this encounter. Just get ready for it.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I'm asleep and I dream that God baptizes me. God baptized me in my sleep. When I woke up, I am soaked. I mean, drenched. My hair is wet. My clothes are wet. My legs are wet. It is not hot in my room because if you know me, you know I sleep with the fan, even in the wintertime.
Yes, I know.
You sound like you got something to say.
She be killing me with that fan, man.
I can't sleep hot. I cannot sleep hot. This is a real thing.
You be under 3 covers with the fan on. That don't make sense.
But if I wake up and I'm hot, I can't go back to sleep. It's a deal for me. I know. So I know I'm not.
Pray for her. All our kids do it too.
They do.
She has influenced them.
They can't sleep hot either. They wake up hot, they're angry. I get it. I get it. But anywho, I wake up, my hair is wet. So Kenny does not sleep early. Like I go to bed normally about 9-ish. It's a family thing.
But I'm the oldest.
Listen, we had a bedtime in my household when I was a kid. We had a bedtime. It was 9 o'clock. I'm sorry that till this day, we still live by that bedtime. Any of my cousins on here will be in the chat and they'll let you know it's 9 o'clock. But I woke up, I ran into the kitchen where he was, and I'm like, feel me. And so he was like, what? I'm like, no, feel me, like touch me. And so he touches me and then he's like, wait, why are you wet? What is happening? And so I'm like, God baptized me. Can you believe it? God literally baptized me. Look, my hair is wet. And so he is just looking horrified, like, what? Because y'all got to remember, this is 2018. So Kenny hasn't gone through his experience yet. So I'm waiting for him to go, this lady is crazy.
I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
But I'm like, God baptized me. I had a whole encounter. He told me he baptized me. Then we set up and we talked for a while about just what did that mean to me and why was this so significant? That was something that was a small little prayer. It wasn't a big prayer like, God, I want you to do this miraculous thing for me. I needed money. It was, God, I need an encounter with you. And I know this will bring our relationship closer. So I need I need to be baptized so that we can get there. And I know what it means now. I value it. And even in that small little ask, because I can't even think of where I can go to get baptized. I don't know where to go for this. God took something that may be so minute to other people, but was real for me. And he took it serious. Like, okay, well, I'm going to baptize you. So now you'll know how important. I know this is important to you because you want relationship with me.
Right.
And I know this is significant. So I'm going to take it upon myself to give you this thing. So for me, it was huge. It was massive. I mean, I woke up in this, like, oh my God, Kenny, I'm wet. Touch my hair. And he's like, what is happening? God, why did you give me this wife?
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, he loves me.
Yeah,
so you guys, that is our encounter. We wanted to share our stories with you because we wanted you to know that God is real.
Yes,
and that
is.
he's concerned about the things that you're concerned about. So don't take any little thing that you're thinking about, you're concerned about, and not talk to God about it. Like I said, being baptized may have not been a big deal for anybody else who may not have gone through it. But for me, it was an experience that I wanted. And praying for my husband to have an encounter for himself may not have been a big deal for anybody else. But I knew that my husband needed that encounter. He needed to hear from God from himself so that he would be able to go into relationship with him and have something to stand on to go, I know God's real. Like he came to me. I felt it. This is what I experienced.
You need to be a sound mind and sound body.
Right. So when people come to you now and say, how you know? How you know God is real? What do you say to them?
I tell them about that situation I had, well, that encounter that I had, and I was like, all the things that I've been through, me speaking into my son who had epilepsy. I don't want him on his medicine no more. I felt that. I prayed about it. I spoke it. No longer on there. The situation with my wife when she had him, and they had to put a pacemaker in her, and because they said that your heart was enlarged and you're going to have this problem for the rest of your life. And I told them, I didn't know nothing. I just spoke it. Yeah. I didn't know my words were that powerful, but I spoke it. And again, those are instances that God was showing me, I'm real. Yeah. I'm here. Whatever you say, that's what I'm going to do. So that's when I learned about life and death is in the power of the tongue. Yeah.
Especially when you have a doctor saying that you're going to have this condition for the rest of your life. You can't lift your newborn baby up ever. You can't pick them up. Or you could be driving and your heart just stops like that. Like they're speaking all of this stuff. And immediately I'm going, my heart can just stop. Right. And to look at my husband and he just goes,
she's healed.
She's healed. That was it.
And and honestly, I was doing my godly duty. Yeah. I'm supposed to be, as the head, to speak into my wife, into my significant other, into my children, into ever. But I didn't know that was what I'm supposed to do. It was just, it was like the essence in me. This is what I'm supposed to do without even knowing this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. So, again, God's been talking to me for years. Yeah. And I wasn't listening, or I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention.
But some of us, that's where we are. We're not listening yet. And so people start speaking something over and over to him, telling him this is what God called you to do. And he would be like,
no, you got the wrong person.
Not me.
That ain't me. That is not me.
And I begin to ask him, why do you think all these people who don't know each other all said the same thing?
Because it's a conspiracy.
Everybody conspiring. They got a network, a secret network happening.
They tapping my phone. They looking at my emails.
But you guys, thank you so much for joining the Cunninghams for Truth Tuesday. I hope this really blessed your soul and it really enlightened you on the fact that we've had our own encounter. Maybe that's your prayer. God, show me that you're real. Let me have an encounter with you where I know irrefutably that this was you and it was no one else, that no one else could have showed up in this moment like you did. And maybe it's to console you. Maybe it's to baptize you because you were traumatized as a child and almost drowned. Maybe it was whatever it is that you need him to show up for. We just pray with you that God will show up in that way and that you will have a testimony of your own.
And get out of your own head. Yeah. Get out of your own head. Get out of your own head feeling like God can't use you. You're not worthy to be spoken to. Yeah. All of that. And really like sit down and think about all the things that he's brought you through. All the things that he brought you through. Even when you were doing wrong, he still found favor in you. People still found favor in you. And just, again, just be in a room by yourself and just be transparent and put your heart out, pour your heart out and ask for him to come into your life. Come ask him to talk to you. Let him know, he already knows everything, but like I said, he wants you to come to him. He's giving you free will to make your choice. Talk to him. talk to them like you would talk to anybody else. You ain't got to do that thou and the glorious and powerful and righteous and all. You ain't got to do all that. This is a conversation like if you're having with anybody else, if you're having with your father or you're having with your mother. Just talk from the heart, mean what you say. And I'm telling you, you're going to have the same encounter. And maybe you'll have the same encounter, or maybe you'll have something different. It might come to you while you're on your job. It may come to you while you're driving. It may come to you while you're talking to somebody and it just hits you. So I'm hoping that wherever it is, that it does hit you and you come to a realization God is real.
All right, you guys, this has been the Cunninghams for Truth Tuesday. We will continue to lift you guys up in prayer. Please keep praying for the Cunninghams. Yes. And God bless you. Bye, everybody.
Be safe.